Welcome in, Falcons fans. Your boy Bryce Lewis back at it again for more Atlanta Falcons content. And as we get ready for week 3 against the Carolina Panthers, you know what we do as we preview the game. I bring on a guest. And this week, Chris Tipmore, A1 Forever. You've seen him, Smitty, over there doing work. You've seen him on Digest. Was it Digest Hawk? Am I wrong?
Hawk Digest.
Hawks Digest, sorry.
Yeah.
Flip that. Hawks Digest. Great content over there if you want to go check that out. And listen, man, I appreciate you, man, coming on to the show, man. How you doing today?
Hey, man, every day is a great day. I can't complain at all, man. Football season is in full swing. In about another month or so, we're going to be in basketball season. So we're going to be like knee deep in sports, man. Hope you got your track shoes ready, Bryce. It's about to get busy, man.
Yeah, for sure. It's always a busy time when both sports are going. But, obviously today we're going to talk about football. We're going to talk about the Falcons coming off a victory on Sunday Night Football against the Minnesota Vikings. Now get ready for division rival Carolina Panthers. So, Chris, first thing I wanted to get into it with you about is coming out of that week 2 performance, obviously the Falcons defense having the performance they had, and the Panthers losing 2 offensive linemen. Bryce Young still a little questionable. How are you feeling this week going into that game?
Well, I'm optimistically confident. I feel like we have a better defense than we did last year. Coming off of that performance against J.J. McCarthy and those Vikings, Falcons were able to get after that quarterback. And I had said coming into that game, Jeff Ulbrich would have to disguise. He would have to send some stunts, some twists. And he did. He did everything. He did all that. It felt like a chess match between two veteran defensive coordinators, and they were working against those rookies. But luckily the Falcons were able to prevail, of course, sacking J.J. McCarthy 6 times, getting 11 QB hits total. And that's what I mean by really generating pressure. Like, of course, you can get close, kind of speed the clock up. But when you start touching the quarterback and getting them on the ground, that's when you really start, I believe, messing with that mental clock and really just that mental stability. So I'm glad that the Falcons were able to do it. Gotta run it back this week, man. Another young quarterback, but way more experience than J.J. McCarthy. So we gotta bring it this week. Division matchup.
Yeah, definitely. And obviously, with the Falcons too. I mean, they lost the last game of the season last year against the Panthers. So if anything, if you're Raheem Morris this week, you could come into this week and say, hey, listen, they beat us last year. We can't take them lightly. I've called this game an opportunity for the Falcons, almost like a get right game in a way, just to get back on track on all 3 phases, even though 2 phases were really good, the special teams and defense last week. And, really that's kind of where I want to go next. Obviously, a lot of people were not as happy about what happened offensively last week, questioning some of Zach Robinson's play calls and et cetera. But like I said, this week, I think this is a good opportunity for him to get back on track, maybe take some shots downfield. What are you wanting to see from the offense this week when it comes to going against Carolina?
More than anything, red zone efficiency. That's one thing for the first 2 games that has really just been the biggest question mark for the Falcons. They last week, yes, they answered some questions, but they're still going to be continually answering questions, should I say, when it comes to that offense. I know a lot of people are confused or they're upset about the pistol formation, but honestly, it's really like the best thing for Michael Penix when you think about it, especially when you have like that right side being his blind side. If he works out the pistol, he'll be able to see both sides, coming at him. He'll be able to see what's coming at him. And you'll be able to still run the ball, as we have definitely run the ball effectively. You've seen last game, and then also you still be able to pass out of it too. So again, I just more so efficiency, getting more. We're in the timing offense, so I want to see that timing be able to get more on page. A little bit quicker, be more crisp, precise, and just be able to continue to get better game after game. Because of course we're really kind of like getting to know each other a little bit just because live game action, no preseason.
Yeah, for sure. And I think, obviously we can get into that, but now we're in week 3, so that isn't really as big of a concern anymore. And one thing, too, I want to see from the red zone, I think, is, I wouldn't mind seeing a little bit more jump balls to Drake, to Pitts, just giving them some one-on-one opportunities to make some plays. I think that could potentially help. Just doing some different things in the red zone, because when the field condenses, when you get that close, you got to really bring out your bag. You really got to get creative, and I think that's something that people are waiting for with Zach Robinson to kind of show more of that bag. And some people have already made decisions. They think maybe he don't got it. And at the same time,
Well,
I
I've
also
heard.
said, that I feel like there have been opportunities. There was a play last week where Penix just missed Pitts wide open. I mean, there's been times where the Falcons just haven't executed. And so I think that the Falcons, will have, like I said, opportunities against Carolina this week. I think obviously still establishing the running game, just making sure that's still as good as almost like what it was last week as well, can really help. And then, like I said, getting great opportunities off of that. Now, I'm also curious to see how the offensive line does this week. Now, obviously, they've gone through growing pains. We know losing, Caleb McGarry and then Drew Dahlman has been an impact. Elijah Wilkinson, depending on how you feel, may have done serviceable, maybe bad to you, whatever. It feels a little bit of we're just trying to get to when Storm Norton comes back, and then maybe we can kind of see where this offense is. Do you have any concerns maybe against Carolina? Now, Carolina has, Derek Brown. That's probably their best overall defensive player. He is a really talented player, and he gives Chris Lindstrom some issues from time to time. But overall, are we worried about the pass rush getting to Penix?
Well, I mean, you have to be concerned about Derek Brown. Derek Brown wasn't there last year. So, having him back, that's a huge piece for the Carolina Panthers. And you got to go back to week 1, right? Going up against Vita Vea. When you see like Derek Brown and just how he is with the Falcons, it's similar. It's very similar. And we're going to have, and yes, he has given Chris Lindstrom some of his tallest tests. So we'll say that, in the NFL so far. So he's definitely going to be trying to get after it. They're 0-2. They're going to be trying to send all their guns at Penix. I believe people are still trying to speed up Penix's clock because there has been times to where it has happened. He's missed throws, but again, we are in a time and offense. You have to be mindful that that man can be disruptive. He can take on 2 guys, sometimes 3, depending on what you're running. So Derek Brown, yeah, I think if you can control what he does, kind of like keep him off balance, I think you can be more successful because that guy is a disruptor. I got to give it to him.
Yeah, and obviously, like I said, who to game plan for.
Yeah,
And then obviously, like I said, you don't want any other guys to kind of pop up in this game as well. So if you can keep Penix clean in the pocket, I think we've seen a little bit so far. He can read defense, he can find answers, he can make all the throws, and now it's just maybe helping him in the offense get more into rhythm. And like I said, week 1 passing game was more in rhythm, running game struggled. Week 2 running game was struggling, passing game was a little out of sync. So like I said, just looking for that game where they both could be on the same page and both can kind of complement each other, because that's what's probably going to help this offense be what they think they can be, which is a top 10 offense in the league. And so, with that, going back over to the defense, I think one of the big things coming out of this week is the status of AJ Terrell. It looks like he's unlikely to play Sunday. Some people are wondering how big of a deal that is. In the second half of this Minnesota Vikings did not score a point. It didn't seem like we missed AJ that much. Now you had Justin Jefferson, right? Now we'll see with a whole week of preparation for a team like the Panthers have, does that change anything? My assumption is that D. Alford's going to get the call again because they moved him outside. He actually didn't do a bad job last week. Interesting to see if the Falcons call up a corner. Kobe Bryant potentially is a guy. People are waiting to see if they call him up. And also just, Clark Phillips is back this weekend, et cetera. So, and when you're going against Carolina's receiving core, really it's McMillan. He's the one that you're probably nervous about. He's made some plays early in the season for Carolina, and he seems like he'll be a really good player. But outside of that, Xavier Legette has been a bit of a disappointment for a lot of people. And I mean, Hunter Renfrow, unless there's a whip route, you're not really too concerned. So, how are you feeling about the secondary going into the game? Is it something where maybe you see maybe Olbrich maybe doing more zone versus man because of this?
You possibly, yes, because you do have to compensate for not having AJ Terrell there. So I can definitely see a lot more zone. Just be careful with it, but still I can definitely see it. You have to compensate. I know also a name that I know people are asking for Kobe Bryant, but for me, I'm also looking at maybe CJ Henderson. We'll
Yep.
see if he gets called up. I mean, he's familiar with the Panthers as well. I know they're familiar with him, but at the same time, he's a veteran. And I don't believe necessarily that Kobe Bryant is necessarily ready just yet. I feel like they are still working and progressing him on. I know he was dealing with like a hamstring right before the beginning of the season anyway. So possibly, can just be bringing him along slowly still, letting him get the playbook. Like you said, you mentioned Clark Phillips. I know he had been dealing with a rib injury since like OTAs down there. But
Mm.
definitely, it was definitely affecting him for training camp because we didn't really see him out there outside like day one, maybe. So you have that situated. We'll see if he's ready to go, but I'm not sure if you want to run him out there or if you just want to like kind of rotate guys. I think that could be an option too. We could see a bit of Natron Brooks, but I know he's more so of a slot guy.
Mm.
Some people are even asking, can Billy Bowman possibly be guarded or matched up against McMillan? You may see that. I think I'm gonna see more of Mike Hughes because he's a veteran.
Mm.
Regardless, the problem is against McMillan, you're lacking size. Regardless, AJ Terrell is going to be a huge loss in this game and in any games moving forward because that is your number one corner and you have to have somebody that you can trust that play in and play out. And right now we don't have that guy. So if there is a concern, I would say it is in the secondary, lacking AJ Terrell. But however, that just makes the front seven for the Falcons in this particular game so much more important. We have to, I'm going to say it just like we did against JJ McCarthy, we have to get home, not just get into the almost pressures or anything like that. We have to put hands on Bryce Young. We have to get him on the ground as well, similar to how we did JJ McCarthy. I'm not asking for 6 sacks, but I am asking for quarterback hits and I am asking for those guys to generate pressure to help the back end. Because if you can do that, what I'm saying, it really doesn't matter as long as you're getting the quarterback on the ground.
Yeah, and I was going to actually go into that next because, like I said, the Panthers, like I said, lost a couple of offensive linemen this week. The
Yeah.
the offense has been shaky at times for the Panthers. I know they almost came back as Arizona last week.
Mhm.
I kind of watched the end of that game. Cardinals kind of let them get back into the game, but still they had a chance, and they could have won that game. So you can't take them lightly, like I said, and it's one of those things where Bryce Young obviously probably has not had what Panthers fans hoped, obviously, after seeing the end of last year.
Right.
And that's why Panthers fans have been barking on social media towards Falcons fans about, oh, we're gonna beat you again, and Bryce Young's gonna do what they're gonna do again, right? So I
Right.
think one of the big keys is that pass rush. I mean, which has been a blessing so far. With James Pierce Jr. Obviously, he's been dealing with a bit of an injury, but he was back out of there practice on Thursday. Jalen Walker got his first career sack last week as well. Brandon Dorless, Rook has been really, really good for us. Floyd got a sack, Zach Harrison. We have a lot of guys. And somebody brought it up today, too. They said, shoot, we don't even have Tyquan Graham and Braylon Trice right now. And they're
We
going to be
don't.
added into the fold. So, they have a lot of depth on that D-line. And Jeff Ulbrich talked about it, how he talked about just the rotation, keeps everybody fresh, keeps everybody hungry. And so then
Yeah.
they feel like that's going to help the pass rush. And when asked about was what they did on Sunday, what they were looking for. He was like, yeah, it's definitely a step in the right direction, but we still aren't where we want to be yet. So that
Yeah.
just tells you his mindset with the pass rush. And, if the Falcons are able to create that type of pressure on Bryce Young, do you think we'll also see, multiple turnovers, high turnover game, and just maybe the same defensive performance we saw against Minnesota?
I mean, it's definitely a possibility. I think, Falcon fans, you should tread lightly. That's why I said I'm optimistically confident because I'm the confidence part comes from multiple things. The way that you've seen them perform. Yeah, I know it's like the history of Falcons is you can't get too high on them because
Mm.
they will allow you to fall flat on your face. But this go round, we have a defensive coordinator that I believe knows what he's doing. I believe he's putting the people in the right place. The players, they want to play for him. They enjoy playing for him. It's completely different from when we had Jimmy Lake as defensive coordinator. I
Mhm.
mean, we got to keep it real about that. I feel like everybody regressed. So now you have a guy who's coming in who they're buying into. He's putting them in the right positions. That's why I'm feeling confident. but I'm still optimistic because it is still a young defense. It is a week by week thing, teaching these guys so they can be able to understand the concepts, understand when misdirections are going to come your way because it's going to happen this season. We've already seen, guys give up plays, but it's okay. That's a learning curve. That's what you're going to have week to week. So that's why you got to be optimistic and know that it's going to be growing pains. You got to understand that. I feel like if you do, you won't like drive yourself crazy and be ready to, bust your TV up and all that stuff that you see further down.
No, I get that for sure. And actually, I kind of want to ask you about the draft class of 2025. I mean, they made plays last week in Minnesota. What have you seen from them so far? Are you surprised at what we've seen? Xavier Watts has been really good. People were talking about him after week one. Billy Bowman, he's been a guy who's kind of been used in a different way. We knew James Pierce Jr. pass rush. He's led the last 2 weeks in pressure percentage. And then, like I said, Jalen Walker had some injuries through camp, but starting to maybe come along too. What is your thoughts so far on what we've seen just through 2 games from those 4?
Man, to be honest with you, brother, it's just like everything that we really was hoping for as Falcon fans, to be honest. You knew that Pierce was going to get after the quarterback. You knew that Walker was a complete player that can drop back and go after the quarterback. I mean, you've seen both of those instances. Then you also think about it with Billy Bowman. We knew that he was going to be that heat-seeking missile that they was going to be using all over the field because he's just that good and just that confident. Like he can cover a few guys. If you notice, they put Billy Bowman on at least every receiver at least once. So including JJ. So and you even heard Raheem Morris even say himself, "Hey, I may put him on Jetta." You know what I'm saying? I may see what he got going on with that because he's just that good in coverage. And of course, still he's going to have his bumps, but you see, he has that mental capacity to put the old plays out of his mind and get right back after it because Naylor got him a couple of times, but what happened? You get the interception. That just comes from putting the plays in the past and just looking forward and facing and being in the now. So I love that about him. X-Man, I mean, Xavier Watts, man, I'm telling you, he's going to be a ball hawk all year long because if you look at it in the first 2 games, it's not a coincidence that this young man is just around the football so much. Almost had a pick in the first game. So got him one to seal it off and wave bye-bye and good night to all Vikings fans. All of these guys are playmakers. They're difference makers. And we have to say not only shout out to Terry Fontenot, but just shout out to the entire scouting department on honing in on these guys, being able to get these guys, making the necessary movements, transactions to get these guys in Falcons uniforms. So you definitely just got to give a shout out to them. But Bryce, let's not just hone in just on these 4 guys. Remember, Rook and Dorless also from the previous year. You got to factor those guys into it too. So if you think about all 6 of these guys, throwing you a Zach Harrison as well, that's 7. So you got 7 guys really that's a part of this youth movement that is driving the force for the Falcons defense. And all those guys that I just named made plays.
Yeah, and I mean that's just showing what coaching can do for you when both draft classes are starting to come together. You're seeing guys step up. You're seeing guys kind of just put it all together a little bit, and that's why I said about this team is they're young and they're playing this well, but yet there's still a lot of growth. It's not like a veteran defense where it's like you pretty much you have your defense, for the most part. It's youth. So they get better, game after game, you hope. And so with that, it makes you excited about what can happen, and what they can end up, being at the end of the day. So really, really excited to see how they do against Bryce Young. And just excited to see now the expectation, okay, you just did it. Can you replicate it? Because in this league, it's consistency. Can you do it again? We've seen it on tape. Teams are going to try to stop that. Can you make adjustments, obviously coaching players, and still make plays? And, we'll have to keep an eye on that for sure. But also, I got to give love to a guy who was brought in to save the special teams franchise. Obviously, John Parker Romo, 5-5 last week.
5-5.
I think they said his family just moved in.
Yeah,
Which sound like he gonna be here for a while.
I like it.
People are kind of like, why is this young Wei Koo still taking a roster spot? But you know, nothing. Nothing less. Do we have more? Are we set at kicker, or are you like, let me see another week? Let me see another week.
No, you definitely got to make sure it's not a fluke, respectfully. And honestly, we've already, as soon as young Wei Koo stepped on that field with game time, he was paid that $5 million. It was guaranteed, I believe. And you can't just, a game or two later, all of a sudden just say, yeah, we're just gonna go ahead and just kick you and that $5 million to the curb.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, we look that 5-5 for Parker, even though it did feel like a tryout because it seemed like the field goals got further and further, and farther and farther. So it's just like, it was funny. It was funny. I was like, man, is this man having like a tryout in front of us? Are we being punked in a way and the offense is trying to fake stall for Parker? It's just like, he just started just having all those crazy thoughts, but you know better than that. But still, it's just like, I enjoyed seeing John Parker Romo. First of all, the interview of him saying being comfortable, being uncomfortable, that spoke volumes to me because he understands that, hey, I don't know how many more shots I'm going to get, so I got to make it count. He went out there, he made all 5 of them count. And Falcon fans absolutely are rejoiced and thankful for it. And now we're just saying, okay, this is our kicker. I mean, of course, but you got to make sure that this guy is solid week in and week out. Another thing you got to think about it is, too, he did play for the Vikings 4 games. So that means that turf, he's been out there on it, multiple times, practice, etc. So just to make sure that, it wasn't just the being in a familiar territory, you got to give him an opportunity to kick some more. And I believe, again, Young Wei, we've already paid him. You don't want to just kick him to the curve unless it's just, unexplicable, just like, hey, man, hey, this guy, yeah. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, you're cooked. Yeah. No, I get that.
You pack.
I get that for sure.
Yeah.
And then obviously, like I said, you hope for consistency. Like I said, being a kicker in the league's tough, man. You missed one, now everybody's like nervous, like, is he about to fall off? And so it's a tough job, but obviously he was consistent. Listen, 5 for 5, and really it was when he kicked the 50-yard one. I was like, okay,
yeah,
in the 30, 40, like, all right, he knew what he was supposed to do. The 50, like, remember, we ain't been able to kick well for 50 but for the whole season. So, like, I mean, that come back to Hannes last year. So being able to do that was definitely key for sure. But Chris, I got 2 more questions for you before I let you go, man. We're gonna go back to the offensive side of the football.
Okay.
Obviously Michael Penix. He's a guy who I think a lot of people are excited about, very optimistic about. People kind of have already kind of started talking about it a little social about. He gives you that confidence of just when he's out there, we're gonna have a chance to win. And I think that's something that speaks volumes about him. I mean, remember, all his losses have came in overtime where he never got the ball or off a kicker missing a game-winning or game-tying kick. So it's not like he has not – I've said he has not lost outright yet in his career. What do you want to see from him this week against Carolina? Like, what – for what you've seen so far, what is it for Penix? What would you like for him to do this week just in terms of just his development and what you want to continue to see as his progression as the starting quarterback?
Just be more precise on your passes. I mean, your progressions. I feel like he's good at going through his progressions, so that's solid. Just be more crisp on your passes. I mean, that's something I think a quarterback is always trying to work on anyway. So just being a young guy, being more precise, more efficient, keeping the offense going, getting in that red zone. You get in the red zone, make sure the offense gets in for 7, one way or another. Also, something that stands out to me is the fact that, 2 things actually. The fact that Michael Penix doesn't really throw what they call hospital balls. You know what I'm saying? He doesn't throw a receiver into a lot of danger. That's very important, and I think every receiver appreciates that. And so, so that's one thing I will continue to say, man, just make the smart decisions, protect your guys, protect yourself, And lastly, just don't turn the ball over, just like how he has not been turning the ball over the first two games. And he's gone against two defenses that, if you give them an opportunity, they will be able to take the ball from you. So, being able to pass that, you're going to get now another division rival who has, I think, their secondary maybe a little bit better than what they faced.
JC Horn's not bad. JC Horn's not bad.
Yeah, yeah, he's not bad. So we'll see what happens with that. Ultimately, though, I still think you got Drake London, you got Kyle Pitts, Darnell Mooney is still working his way back into the offense. I still expect another about week or two for him to really get his flow of things, because of course dealing with that shoulder, those shoulders can be tricky.
Mm.
And then with Drake, I know he was dealing with something too. I feel like he kind of took it light last week. I don't think he'll necessarily take it light this week if he can. I feel like Drake London can go out there, find Drake London early and often as well. I think Michael Penix should do that, because when Drake London gets involved early in the offense, this offense gets going. We already know Bijan Robinson, he's going to be used officially. He was averaging like over 5 yards per carry. And
Mm.
I know he already has over 250 yards from scrimmage yards already. So I expect him to still be used as a focal point. But again, got to be mindful of that Derek Brown guys. And of course, other guys that are going to be coming in, blitzing in as well. So, but that's the driving force. Derek Brown is their driving force on that defensive line. If we can control him and tire those rest of those guys out, I think we can, by the fourth quarter, we may get lucky enough to possibly have some victory formations. But you never know. Again, division rival, division matchup, bro. It always can go down to the kicker again. It's in these
Mm.
division. So you just can't rule it out. But I do feel, again, optimistically confident.
Yeah, man, I feel the same way, and I agree with you about Penix. Just going through his progressions, his reads, and just finding guys. And like I said, hopefully being able to take some shots downfield. I think that's something you've heard from some coaches like Zach. He's kind of said, I feel like defense have been kind of just trying to take it away, but not even trying to let the Falcons even open that up. So I wonder if that's something they can maybe try to do this week. Like I said, with Darnell back, with Ray, and just kind of see if they can, like I said, create some space. Just like defense has to back up because they have to defend that, and then maybe create some things underneath. Because one thing also about the Falcons is they don't actually go to the middle of the field a lot. They are not a team that passes the middle of the field a lot. So that was an interesting fact I learned. So wonder if that's something where they could take advantage, because the Panthers aren't good at covering the middle of the field either. Their linebackers are not great in coverage. So I do also wonder if this could be also a big Kyle Pitts game. I've liked the way they've used him so far for 2 weeks. The one-on-ones, things like that. It's one of those things where it's like, feels like he's going to have a big game soon. It's just, I like what I've been seeing from him for sure. So really, really excited to kind of see what he does. But my last question for you, Chris, what is in this game the number one thing that you feel like the Falcons have to do to win the game, or what player do you think has to play well for them to win the game?
Ooh, shoot. What the Falcons have to do. I'm gonna go back to what I said about the defensive lineman, that front seven. I think that front seven has to be able to not only pressure Bryce, you got to get your hands on him. You got to get QB hits. You got to get sacks. That's going to be one thing to help, like throw him off as well. Of course, also, I would say make them one dimensional. Take away Chuba Hubbard and, make him one dimensional. I feel like you'll be able to force him into some mistakes. Bryce will give you a turnover. So if you just, I believe, be disciplined and just continue to come after him with your game plan, if everything can be executed properly, well, of course, with that banged up offensive line, even though the guys who are replacing them did start some last year. So, they're hoping that they won't miss too much of a beat. I'm hoping that they miss several beats. So we'll see what happens with that. But, ultimately, Falcons just got to do their job. If they do their job, I think they're the better team overall right now, with the better coaching staff right now as well. And look out for a guy who is not named much, but I know I always try to make sure I name him, and that's Nate Ollie. Nate Ollie has this defensive line and this front seven guys. I believe he's going to have these guys humming, coming after Bryce Young. I'm pretty sure he knows about what happened last year. He's saying, hey, not on my watch, along with Jeff Ulbrich, along with Jerry Gray. We have guys who can be able to help get it done and put these guys in the right place. Falcons, just do your job.
Essentially, yeah, I agree with that. I think, just getting after it. Get after him, and then compounding that with what they did last week, creating turnovers. Get
Absolutely.
turnovers, short fields, easy offense. That's when you can take your shots.
No.
My fault. I got muted. My fault.
They're trying to censor my man's, man. They're trying to censor him.
It happens. But what I was essentially saying is just, I agree. They need to compound into turnovers, create pressure. That leads to easy offense, and then the offense can make plays, short fields, Falcons find success, and maybe run it up. And maybe we don't have to worry about a close game late in the game. We'll have to see, though, as they are on the road for this game. But, Chris, I appreciate you, man, coming in, man, giving me some of your wisdom about the Falcons, man. Let people know where they can find you.
Hey, man, you can find me A1 Forever Sports. That's the platform on YouTube. Please come over, like, comment, subscribe. Be generational because it's always time to be, don't you settle for less because you always can have more with the vision. Also, catch me on the Hawks Digest as well. Basketball season around the corner. So, those Atlanta Hawks, we have something to be excited about. Moves made in the offseason. I've been talking about it. Bryce has been talking about it. But now we're going to see it on the court. So, getting closer to that. Can't wait for that as well. Twitter, A1 Forever. Instagram, A1 Forever, the real A1 Forever on TikTok. And my last thing about the Falcons that they need to do to win this game is continue to be one of those top teams in time of possession. Right now, they are second in time of possession on both sides of the ball. So that means that the defense is doing what? Getting off the field, and the offense is doing what? Sustaining drives. So make sure that you continue to do that against these Carolina Panthers. Let's make them 0-3 like they deserve to be.
I feel that. Hey, man, I can't hate that, man. I can't hate that at all, man. But yeah, guys, obviously, y'all know where to follow me. Bryce_2K on Twitter. If you enjoyed this episode, subscribe to the channel, like the video, leave a comment down below about anything we discussed, any questions that you have. And you already know we're gonna keep coming back with more content. We'll have a recap after the game. I'll do my 3 things what to watch out for, et cetera, et cetera. So what we're doing on the channel, man. Really ramping some things up, but I appreciate you guys supporting through it all. But I think that's about it for us. That's Chris. I'm Bryce. See you next time.
Peace.